For those of you who have been here for the whole weekend retreat, a big welcome to the Sunday Feast portion of this program. For those of you here or online for the Sunday Feast. Is this better? I think so. Okay. Also, a big welcome. We have a very special treat for everyone today. Yes. We have not one, not two, not three, but 4 speakers for today's class. Haribol! So we will have His Holiness Romapada Swami, His Grace Yamuna Prabhu, His Grace Gopal Prabhu, and His Grace Nityananda Pran Prabhu, who are going to be giving a class on the Kevalashtakam, that is this, some of the selected verses of the song that Shruti had so beautifully just sung. And we are going to also have that connected to some other verses by Rupa Goswami. For those that were joining for this entire weekend, the focus was on the different writings and following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami as a way to better connect with this chanting of the holy name. So I'll turn it over to our illustrious panel. Hare Krishna.
Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shanyavadi Paschachade Satarine Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasat Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Is everyone going to speak on Kevalastakam?
2 of us are.
2? Okay. This is, it's a free-for-all this evening. No, excuse me. It's, some devotees are inspired to speak on some other topics that connect to our theme. And so we're eagerly waiting to hear what they're going to speak about connected to our theme. I'm going to have to excuse myself shortly after I speak because the New Jersey Temple has a Sunday program lecture that requires me to leave and go and do a Sunday program lecture. So I'll be here for part of this, and then I'm going to say Hari Bol and turn it over to our other speakers. Something that's been particularly when Badahari has been with us. He decided last minute to take a flight to Europe, and so he's not with us. He had an invitation to be 2 places at the same time, and he flipped a coin, and we lost. So we speak on the verses of Kevalastakam, and a little background because Kevalastakam, who is the author of Kevalastakam, you might wonder. Well, so have many devotees wondered. And in the songbook that was published some years ago, it says author unknown. Like we found in Padyavali, author unknown for a number of his verses. However, one devotee discovered the author. And if you want to find out, you can go to dandavats.com and you'll find out who the author is, but I'll give you a little background. The author was a contemporary of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and this is how this devotee found out, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur in 1895 did a review of a series of poems written by Nilakanta Goswami, Pancha Satakam. Satakam means 100. And these 8 verses were taken from the 100 on the topic of Nama Kaivalya Satakam, 100 verses on the holy name. And then there's another 100 verses on Guru, another 100 verses on Lord Chaitanya. He was a follower of Lord Chaitanya, and during Bhaktivinoda Thakur's time, there were followers of Lord Chaitanya that were in deviated sampradayas of some kind or another. And Bhaktivinoda Thakur gave credit, or credential, I should say, to this person. Exactly what branch of the Lord Chaitanya line is not clear, but that he's a follower of Lord Chaitanya is clear. And the review was in 1895 by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. The book was published in 1916. This is in this article that's on dandabats.com. So now we have some idea of who the source is, because Bhaktivinoda Thakur quotes specific lines from his book that are, one of them at least, is in the Kevalastakam. So 2 plus 2 generally is 4. The person Bhaktivinoda Thakur recognized as a Shuddha Bhakta author and Shuddha Bhakti teachings on the chanting of the holy name. So a little background. And I suggested that I would discuss the first 2 of the Kevalastakam verses. Madhuram Madhare Biopi Mangale Biopi Mangalam. We'll start with those 2. We know what Madhura means sweet. Madhu means honey or bee, or the sweetest of all sweet things. Now, in this world, there's things that are sweet, there's things that are not sweet, but there are things that are sweet. But this is a transcendental sweet. And even amongst the transcendental sweet things, this is the sweetest of all, more sweet than all other sweet things. And Mangala, we know what Mangala is, because we all like going to Mangala Arti. I hear some chuckles. So Mangala is auspicious. Mangala Arti, Mangala, is auspicious. And there are many auspicious things. We heard in Padyavali some verses about the holy name. There are this and that and the other activity. And of all those things that are beneficial to elevate consciousness, none of them can compare. They can't even, like, the Rupa Goswami's Namastaka verse, the effulgence of the crown jewel of all the Vedas, the effulgence is touching the tips of the toes of the lotus feet of the holy name. So, Mangala, the most auspicious of all auspicious things. Pavanam, Pavanebhyopi. In order to reach the supreme pure, one has to become pure. And by contact with the supreme pure, this is good news. We become pure. We become purified. But of all purifying aspects or extensions of the Supreme Lord to us, there's nothing that compares. There are many, even within the house of bhakti, the realm of devotional service. For this particular time of mankind, this age, it's the best. There isn't anything that is equal to it or better than it. It's the best. It's the greatest purifier of all purifying things. And so someone may say, the yeah, but thing. Yeah, but, and fill in the blank. I'm unqualified, I'm fallen, I'm distracted, I'm something, something, something. That's okay. come in contact with the greatest purifier of all purifying things. And that's this holy name. Srila Prabhupada, from the last year's, one of our festival holy name exercises, was playing a little video of Srila Prabhupada explaining how he started the Hare Krishna movement. Maybe some of you saw that or remember seeing it somewhere. It's really short. It's in New York. It's not because it's in New York that I like it. I like what Prabhupada was saying. When he came, he had nothing. But he had the holy name, and everything started in this lecture from the Vyasa-san, who was saying, I didn't have even a drum. He had little bongo drum, no mridanga, tambourine. And for 3 hours every day, Prabhupada says, I sat under a tree in Tompkins Square Park. He calls it Tompkins Sun Square Park, but it's Tompkins Square Park, and chanted. And that's how it began. And then Prabhupada said, and some of the boys, some of the men, Brahmananda and Achyutananda, they danced. And when they danced, everyone got up and danced, and that's how it all began. Beginning, that's all there was. But he had such faith in the holy name, and it's the greatest purifier of all. The audience was a pretty rough audience. The counterculture group there in the Lower East Side, a rough audience. And then from there he went to Haight-Ashbury in San Francisco. Wow. What a sadhu. But the holy name, purified, effectively. So we've had the good fortune of taking part in a festival of the holy name, and in association of devotees, sadhu sangha, hearing teachings of Rupa Goswami and glorifying him and trying to remember him and take shelter of the holy name. So I've gone past my time limit. Huh? Oh, that's the clock is fast. Still, it's 15 minutes. The bell rang. So we're going to move on, and our MC is going to tell us what he wants us to do. Do you know what you want us to do? Did I just give the phone to Jivana? Microphone.
Thank you, Maharaj. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmlitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Ruka Padamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Srila Romapada Swami Niti Namine Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Hare Krishna, everyone. Somehow I was strict to speak right after Maharaj. As you saw, there was a little bit of musical chairs going on here.
Oh, gas put down.
And not wanting to create a scene, I just succumbed to the Vaishnava's wishes. So I feel a little, as you can imagine, nervous. The great personalities that are... But I'm going to... I deserve it. All right, I'm going to try to do my service here. It's going to be tough. Hare Krishna. So I'm going to pick up from where, a little bit where we left off yesterday in the breakout sessions. I'm going to pick up from text 3 of Kevalashtakam, where the author is saying, Sa Guru Sa Pita Chapi Sa Mata Bandhavopi Saha. That person is a true preceptor, a true father, a true mother, and a true friend. Also, only if they teach one to always remember the holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So I wanted to talk about two aspects of this. One as, recipients in that relationship, being a disciple, being a son or a daughter or a friend, and to flip it around, and us being perhaps a father, a mother. None of us are gurus here, except, of course, and a friend. So on the receiving side, there may be a need to teach perhaps what may be seen as lesser principles. I mean, I'm a father, and so sometimes I have to teach, how they have to brush their teeth, typical, normal stuff of human life. Yet, if there's an inner conviction that the holy name Krishna, the shelter of Krishna, is really what is the goal of life, then that will naturally come out in the relationships that we have with our children, with our friends. One thing that this verse is not saying, because it may seem like we take a stick and bash someone and say, holy name alone is everything, and better chant and so forth. It should be done with compassion, with love, with adjusting to time, place, and circumstance, and understanding the needs of the individuals that we're offering care to. So towards that end, we may need to gradually help someone before giving them this the gift of the holy name. Now, there's also, on the flip side, only those, I want to share this quote that I shared yesterday. For those who are able to share that Krishna's holy name is everything, would have to go through this journey. Many devotees struggle with chanting because before they can take shelter of Krishna's names, they have to travel through the desert of seeing the truth about themselves. That they have very little sincerity and no taste, and the mind is uncontrolled and filled with anarthas, and that they have no power to help themselves. This stage is necessary because it's then that one is convinced that we have nothing to depend on except Krishna's holy name. Only when we understand this fact can we chant with a full heart. So a true guru, a true father, true mother, true friend, to be able to even give that conviction that Krishna's holy name is everything, must have gone through this journey. So, my appreciation is that when we're receiving this gift of the holy name from Sri Rupa Goswami, from Srila Prabhupada, from the Acharyas, from our spiritual masters, they have gone through, a major heart transformation to share with us this inner conviction. One of the things that was really touching for me during my 32 rounds was the fact that, once Maharaj was recommending connect with the intention that Sri Rupa Goswami wants to give us the holy name. And then what touched my heart was thinking about the present Acharyas and Srila Prabhupada, how much effort they have gone through to give us the holy name. And that kept me going for some time, really. It takes a lot of inner work. So I'm back to Kevalashtakam. So I like this verse very much. Nishvase nahi vishvasa kada rudho bhavishyati. And then kirtaniya mato balyad hare nama eva kevalam. There's no certainty when the last breath will come and put an abrupt halt to all of one's material plans. Therefore, it is wise to always practice chanting from very childhood. Again, picking up from yesterday, one of the questions that was asked was, what if you were to know that you were to die tomorrow? How would that change your eagerness, your lowlyam for Krishna consciousness? I had at least 4 devotees tell me after the session that question really spoke to them. They never contemplated that question, and they contemplated that question and it was like, wow, or crap. We never know when something is going to happen. I mean, this has been a meditation for me of late for several reasons. I'll give you a few examples. Recently in Chicago community, we had two persons who were in their 40s, and I'm in my 40, who just left their bodies, just like that. A relative of mine, excellent with health, Ayurveda, a doctor, diseased with cancer, just like that. Another relative of mine moved to Singapore, all excited, happy to move to a brand new place. Cancer, had to move back to India. You know, what's going to happen next? It's so precarious. Our situation is fragile. There's a text by Govinda Das. He's a brother of Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. He has a song where he says, Kamala Dala Jala, Jivana Talamala. The world that we live in is extremely fragile, just like a drop on a leaf. So this verse is saying, Nishvase. Shvasa, if you remember in Bhagavad Gita 5th chapter, Shvasan is to breathe. Nishvasa means you don't breathe anymore. Rudho is to stop. So when is that breathing going to stop? Who knows? So the recommendation of the author is, take shelter of Krishna's holy name. Life is very, very difficult. In my pastoral care education training, we had to write a paper on the theology of suffering. And we watched a movie on God on trial. Basically, we saw what it was like to be in the concentration camps. And there in the concentration camps, you have these people who are devout Jews trying to figure out why God promised us salvation. And here we are being treated like animals in a slaughterhouse. And you know, the conclusion was God has, I wouldn't maybe make the same conclusion, but they made the conclusion that God has not kept up to His promise. Even then, just when they were being called into the gas chambers, at that point they realized they had no other opportunity or no other option except to cry out the Lord's prayers. And then it hit me, you know, many times we don't know why certain things happen in our lives. What do you do? We try to philosophize it, we try to intellectualize it, we try to make sense of it, and that's a natural desire to search for meaning. That is human nature. At the same time, you may not get a meaning. Now what do you do? Harinam eva kevalam. That's what this verse is saying. And I'm done. 15 minutes. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu, for saving me. Okay.
And thank you for
Prabhu, can you continue showing it up? Because Om Jnanam Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavangsha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitangsha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanustute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Anchakalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we will continue now with the Kevalashtaka. Now we're on which verse? Wherever you left off. Yeah, we'll just. Hare Sada. Okay, 5. I can, yeah, I study, yeah. Hari Sada Vaset Tatra Yatra Bhagavata Jana Gayanti Bhakti Bhavena Harer Nameva Kevalam. Lord Hari eternally dwells in that place where truly exalted, spiritually advanced souls sing in the mood of pure devotion. Next one. The holy name of Sri Krishna alone is everything. So, sorry, yeah, that's right. Yes. So, this verse is describing where does the holy name rest. And this is actually very wonderful that this verse is coming in the middle of this Namashtakam, of this Kevalashtakam, because I listened to one class that Srila Prabhupada gave on the holy name. So I thought, we have to discuss the holy name, talk about the holy name. What does Srila Prabhupada say about the holy name? And in that class, it was very interesting. Srila Prabhupada was saying how the holy name of Krishna is directly connected, or you could say directly, we will receive it in direct proportion to Vaishnav Kripa, to the mercy of the devotees. So the holy name is the most wonderful thing, but who owns it? Who keeps it? The devotees of the Lord, the Vaishnavas, they keep the holy name. And they have the power to give it to us. Right? It dwells where the exalted, spiritually advanced souls are. And this is the case with bhakti in general. We were discussing the other day the nature of bhakti, that bhakti is, Krishna has everything in this world. We were actually discussing this recently, that Krishna has everything in this world, but the one thing that he doesn't have is love for himself. He doesn't have devotion for himself, because, he is himself. Now, of course, in another way, he does have that, because he comes as his own devotee, as Lord Chaitanya, and he becomes the best devotee. So in this way, he possesses everything, and he possesses love for himself in the form of Lord Chaitanya. But just ordinarily speaking, Krishna does not possess bhakti. Bhakti is the property of who? It's the property of the devotees headed by Srimati Radharani. Bhakti belongs to Srimati Radharani. She is actually the personification of bhakti, of devotion. And the devotees of the Lord are, you could say, following in her footsteps. They are her potency. So, if we want devotion to Krishna, if we want the holy name, we have to take shelter of the devotees. We have to serve the devotees. And this is why we might wonder that after this wonderful festival of the holy name, that why do we do other things in our Krishna consciousness, right? Like, why not then just chant? The holy name is so wonderful, it's so blissful. We can just do that, if we can. But the problem is, until we can do that, or even if we can do that, we must serve the devotees. We must serve the Vaishnavas, and serving them means following their instructions. And then we get the fruit of that holy name. Then we can actually relish the holy name. Srila Prabhupada, in one place, he says that we can relish the holy name when we get the sincere blessings of the devotee. So there's one blessing that we go to the devotee, and we, the spiritual, the sadhu, and we say, please bless me, please bless my children, please, and they give their blessings. But there's another blessing where we don't ask for it, but they want to bless us, right? And we know devotees like that who have received blessings like this from great souls. And we see there's something very special about them. Just like His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj, right? There's one pastime where Srila Prabhupada would give in the most difficult services, like preaching in China. And he would fulfill them. And so one time he fulfilled a very difficult service, and he came back to Srila Prabhupada and he gave the news. And Srila Prabhupada began to cry. Tears were coming down his eyes. And he began to rub Tamal Krishna Maharaj's head. And he said, you are Srila Prabhupada's best grand disciple. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj's best grand disciple. And he embraced him. Now, of course, Srila Prabhupada had many best grand disciples, right? Because that's the nature of the spiritual world, that there's so many things that are best. But just this is a wonderful example of how a devotee, a disciple, pleased the spiritual master and received the sincere blessings. And that sincere blessings, that comes through hard work, that comes through endeavor, that comes through determination to serve the great souls. So Krishna here is saying that he dwells eternally. The name of Lord Hari dwells eternally wherever the spiritually advanced souls sing in that mood of devotion. And therefore Bhaktivinoda Thakur sings, I think it's a different, Ohe Vaishnav Thakur, he says, Amito Kangal Krishna Krishna Boli Dhai Tava Pache Pache, right? That I am useless, I don't have any taste for the holy name, I simply run after you chanting Krishna Krishna, and you show me the path, you give me that mercy. So this is text 5, very beautiful, I think one of the most important messages of this Ashtakam. Aho dukkham maha dukkham, dukkha dukkhataram yata. Aho, what a sorrow, what a great sorrow, more painful than any other misery in the world. Kachartham vismritam ratna, harir nameva kevalam. Mistaking it as a mere piece of glass, the people have forgotten this jewel. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So, we know many jewelers. Actually, my bhabi, she comes from a jeweler family. You know, their families are jewelers. And so when my brother and bhabi were married, then his spiritual master, Hanumat Maharaj, was speaking to him, and he quoted one verse. It was something like this, which said that there's so many jewels in this world, but the jewel of the holy name is the most important jewel, right? So the message is that there's so many jewelers and jewels, but don't get attracted by them, because the best jewel is the holy name of Krishna, right? So we have to remember that. Srila Prabhupada, specifically, he said to his sannyas disciples, he said, never become envious of the materialistic people who are very wealthy or prosperous, because we have to remember we have the most wonderful jewel. Diyatam diyatam karno niyatam niyatam vacha. It should be heard again and again with one's ears. It should be uttered over and over with one's voice. Giyatam giyatam nityam harir namaiva kevalam. It should be perpetually sung and sung anew. So again and again, we should repeat this. We were discussing the Nectar of Devotion, and there, the first verse of the Nectar of Devotion, or second verse, is the definition of pure devotional service. And the word that Rupa Goswami uses is anushilanam, which means activity. And then anushilanam means activity, and anu can mean following in the footsteps of the great sages, right? Anushilanam. But it's also explained that anu means constantly. So anushilam means pure devotional service is constant activity. So if we're doing something only for a short time, if we're doing devotional service only for a short period of time, it cannot be pure. This is one way to know whether or not we're doing pure devotional service, because if we are doing it purely, we'll do it continuously. So the same thing about the holy name, that we'll come to that point of pure chanting when we're chanting continuously, again and again, again and again. And Prabhu explained this very well, so I won't discuss this more about the importance of glorifying the holy name of Krishna. Yes. Trinikritya jagat sarvam rajate sakalopari. It makes the entire universe seem insignificant as a blade of grass. It splendorously reigns supreme over all. And then Chid Ananda Mayam Shuddham Harir Namaiva Kevalam. It is full of eternally conscious divine ecstasy. It is supremely pure. The holy name of Sri Hari alone is everything. So just on this first line, it makes the entire universe seem insignificant as a blade of grass. So I was just thinking that philosophically, we all know this. We all know that this material world is temporary. We read it in the books again and again. Life is temporary. Even if we're not a devotee, we know this. One philosophy professor, he was a colleague of mine. He was a philosophy professor, and he didn't really believe in God. Yeah, he didn't believe in God. But in his classes, the first thing he would tell his students, he said, we have 5,000 weeks to live, and you can decide what you want to do with those weeks. I mean, he was Brahman realized to some degree, right? We have 5,000 weeks to live. You can make a calendar. It's like week 1 God, week 2 God, week 3. After that, I started thinking, I spent 1 week on this, 1 week of my life is gone. We think, I'll just spend 1 week on it. But 1 week of your life is gone. So we have 5,000 weeks. If you calculate it, it's 5,000 weeks, 50 years and like this. So, 50 weeks and then 100 years. And that's if we live 100 years. Oh yeah, that's if we live 100 years. Otherwise, we have more like 2,500 or 3,000 weeks to live. So even everyone knows this philosophically, that this world is insignificant. This world, even the philosopher Socrates, he said, this world is like a dream because it comes and goes. just like a dream at night comes and goes. There's one very famous writer, Calderon. He's a Christian writer. And he's written this book, Life is a Dream. And in that book, it's a book of poetry. He says, life is a dream. So what gain could be so great, and what loss could be so large? He says, what's the use of crying? Because he says, life is a dream. Like in your dream, if you're the prince and you have a white horse and you're running on your white horse, and all of a sudden you lose it, then in the morning, you feel the shock, but you don't cry over it, because you knew you're going to lose it anyway. So the same way, we all know death, as sure as death, as Prabhupada said. We all know we're going to lose it anyway. So he says, what gain could be so great? And what loss could be so big? And so therefore, no need to lament over anything. So many people know this, but the fact is, though we all know this so well, we still cannot act on that level, right? We cannot behave in the way that this world is insignificant. We still go and we want the best car, and we buy ice cream, and all these things. We cannot act on that level, because the fact is that the soul is always desiring pleasure. It is seeking happiness. That's its definition. So we want pleasure. We need pleasure. So it doesn't matter what philosophically is right or wrong. We won't be able to see the world insignificantly unless we can experience a higher taste. Until we have a higher taste, we cannot give the lower taste, no matter how temporary it is. So therefore, actually the holy name allows us to see the world as insignificant. Because the holy name gives us the higher taste. It actually gives us the pleasure. It doesn't matter if we have the philosophy or not. It gives us the pleasure such that then we can give up the lower pleasure and make this world insignificant. King Kulashekar, in his Mukunda Mala Stotra, he has a very beautiful verse in this regard that Srila Prabhupada he quotes. He says, Naham vande tava chanarayor dvandva hetor kumbi pakam gurumapi narakam napunetum ramya rama mridutanulata nandane napirantum bhave bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayeyam bhavantum. Very beautiful verse. And in this verse he says that I don't worship you to avoid the hellish kumbhapaka hells. If we do something very bad, we end up in one of these hellish planets where they throw you in a pot of oil, or they all these things. Not eternally, but it does ruin our day. So many people, they worship Krishna to avoid the hells. They say, well, if I've done very bad, then I need to worship God. Otherwise, I'll go to hell. So let me go to God and beg for forgiveness. So he says, I don't come to you to avoid these hellish planets. He says, I also don't come to you to enjoy the soft skin women of the heavenly planets, right? So this is the thing of this world. We all want very beautiful sense enjoyment. And he says, I don't worship you for that either, to enjoy the heavenly pleasures. What do I worship you for? Bhave bhave hridaya bhavane bhavayeyam bhavantum. He says, I worship you so that life after life after life, I can simply remember you. I can simply remember your holy name and chant your holy name. So this is the only desire of a devotee, because they've tasted the highest sweetness, and therefore they don't want anything else. Right? So I think we have one more left, or are we done? That's it. Okay. So with this meditation, we have completed the Kevalashtakam. Srila Prabhupada ki.
So while I'm setting my computer up, I have a question for all of you. Consider you just got a plate of Mahaprasadam. Just consider, okay? And you sat down and said Mahaprasade Govinde, the whole prayer. and you ate one puri already. Then someone comes, sits next to you and says, Mahaprasade, and they start their dinner. What do? Do you stop and say the prayer again, or do you continue eating? So all of them have recited Mangala Charana, so I'll continue.
See, we saved the best for the last.
All right. It's really the best. Nothing lasted. All right, let's see what's going on. Huh? Are anyone here with a Mac setting, Prabhu?
Why do you change it to just duplicate the screen instead of extend the screen on the Mac?
So I've always believed that Krishna is a person with an amazing sense of humor. And one of the tricks he plays is, fills up my 15 minutes with tech issues, which is very sweet. Now, it's such a delight to hear Maharaj and Yamuna Jivana and Gopal Hari speak in a way of Kevalashtaka that is so inspiring and engaging. And I'm sorry, I'm the bearer of bad news. I am bearing the bad news in this sense that we'll go back to the very foundational verse from yesterday. That Rupa Goswami says, we don't have any taste for chanting. So I'm that person who, I guess, speaks from the pedestrian level. That my struggle is the words in the second line, na rochikano, no taste. I struggle with it. And going down this path of reciting Padyavali verses is a way to inspire myself to someday aspire that I may have. And hearing these Prabhus and Maharaj speak definitely gives me great hope. In order to develop that taste, it's not from what I do. Taste doesn't come from what I do. He says, Kintu anudinam adarat khalu saiva jushta. It refers to something we are supposed to do. We are supposed to chant the holy name every day. But we know that the taste for holy name doesn't come from this exercise alone. What Rupa Goswami hasn't mentioned directly is that the taste comes from grace. By the grace of the great devotees, by the grace of Radha and Krishna, the spiritual masters, etc. This method of every day with great respect and regard, chanting of the holy name is a demonstration to them that we are eager to receive that grace. Otherwise, this would become a mechanical process. It's not a mechanical process. In order to receive that grace, then we need the blessings of great devotees. Each one of us may have our own personal way of offering prayers. In Nectar of Devotion, Rupa Goswami describes that that's one method. Another method is to repeat the prayers of great persons. And that's called samprarthanatmika. Samprarthana means someone else has already prayed. Samprarthana. And you just repeat that in that spirit. It's not like that. I'm butchering Sanskrit, but you get the point. So one of the prayers is the worshipping or glorifying the devotees. Okay, so this verse that Rupa Goswami takes from Sri Autkala. Now one may say, who's Sri Autkala? Literally it means somebody from Orissa. Utkala is Orissa, and one who comes from Utkala is called Autkala. So a devotee from Orissa. He writes, Tebhyo namo astu bhavaridhi jirna panka samagna mokshana vichakshana padukebhya. That's one word. And the third line says, Krishneti varna yugala shravanena yesham anandatur bhavati nartita roma vrindaha. Of course, there's a translation right there, but we are about relishing the words that these great persons have spoken, and we're trying to unpack them. So first of all, he says, Tebhyo namo astu, that I offer my respects unto them. Who are they? And to explain who they are, he says, Yesham, those who, these great personalities, have a certain power in them. And the power literally is in their shoes. Padukebhya. What do they do with their shoes? Why do we worship not the feet of the Guru and the feet of the deity, but the shoes? In the Sri Vaishnava tradition, there is an Acharya called Vedanta Deshika, and at 2 a.m. in the night, he was challenged by another person in a competitive spirit to write something about the glory of the Lord. And he said, I cannot glorify the Lord. In fact, I can't even glorify his feet, but I will glorify his shoes. And spontaneously, in 2.5 hours, spoke 1008 verses about the shoes of the Lord. They are called Paduka Sahasram. So there is some power, in the shoes of these great personalities. And what is that power? Bhava Varidhi. Bhava means the existence, birth and death. Varidhi is the ocean. So we are all supposedly swimming or trying to swim or drowning in the ocean of birth and death. Bhava Varidhi. Jirna. Jirna means digested, but technically in this verse means festering or rotting. In rotting where? In the mud of the ocean. So Bhava Varidhi Jirna Panka. Therefore lotus is called Panka Ja. That one is born from dirt. Samagna, the living entities, are festering, rotting thoroughly in that mud of material, in the mud of the ocean of the material existence. These great personalities, Yesham, by their shoes, mokshana vichakshana, they are able to release all of us from that festering, rotting condition simply by their shoes. Which means that the presence, the lotus feet, any sage, any saintly person, spiritual masters, or great devotees, when they enter into an assembly of persons rotting in the ocean of material existence of birth and death, people like me, they have a hope for becoming mokshana. We can be released from it. And vichakshana means they have the knowledge, the potency, the empowerment to release all of us. Okay, great. Now what happens to them when they hear Krishna's holy name? Krishna Varna Yugala. Yugala means pair. We say Kishore, Kishori, Radha Madhava, Radha Shama Sundar are Yugala Murti, a pair. So Krishna Varna Yugala means the two syllables called Krishna. When they hear Shravanena, by their hearing the holy name, what happens to them? Anandatur bhavati. they go into raptures of ecstasy. And nartita, they start dancing. Roma vrindaha, the locks of hair stand on end on their body. Another way to think of it as nartita Roma vrindaha means the locks of hair on their body stand erect and begin to dance. I'll tell you what the visual I've had for it. The very first time I ever saw Hare Krishna devotees, I thought they were totally cuckoo. Is when in a particular kirtan with their sikhas, they were dancing up and down. And the sikha was also going up and down. I thought it was a funny sight until I read this verse, that Nartita Roma Vrinda, the hair standing erect and dancing, because every pore in their body is jubilant. And such personalities' presence releases people like me festering in the ocean of birth and death. What a wonderful glorification of devotees, huh? Should we continue? I'm going to skip this because there's one favorite one that I want. Yeah. This is a verse of asking Krishna to take charge of our lives. As these two personalities were speaking, the quote of Bhurijana Prabhu that you talked about, in the desert one understands that one goes through and finds out that there is no other option, no other shelter other than Krishna taking us out of the desert. This devotee says, Bhavodbhava klesha kasha shatahataha paribhraman indriya kaphatantare niyamyatam madava me manohayaha twadangri shanko drida bhakti bandhane. This devotee is thoroughly frustrated. He's fed up of trying on his or her own to put life into a sense of order. And finally says, my dear Krishna, bhava udbhava klesha kasha shata hata. Kasha means whip. All right? The whip of life is hitting me hundreds of times. Shata hata, hitting me hundreds of times. And I'm suffering from being whipped by life. Paribhraman, Brahma means to wander. Paribhrama means to wander aimlessly. Paribhraman, Indriya Kapatantare. Kapatha, Patha means path. And Kapatha means bad ways, bad roads that I have gone down. Right? Anyone taken a bad road? Yeah, we're here in Chicago. Yeah, thank you. Paribhraman Indriya Kaphatantare. Antare means one after the other. I have made horrendous choices of going down really obnoxious paths. And I've just been wandering there. So Madhava is right there. Madhava me manohayah niyamatam. My mind is like a wild horse. Can you please discipline it? Can you tame it? Niyamyatam Madhava me manohayah. Okay, what am I supposed to do? Krishna might ask. What do I do with that horse? He says, Tvad angri shankho. The post called your feet. Because when you have to tie a horse, you have to tie it to a post. That post are your lotus feet. And the rope with which you tie this horse called my mind is called Drida Bhakti. Drida Bhakti Bandhane. Okay? So I'll read the verse again. What I would request you to do is, ask Madhava to take charge of our lives. Because we've tried in different ways. Bhavodbhava klesha kasha shatahataha paribhraman indriya kaphatantare niyamyatam madhava me manohayah Twadangri Shankau Dridabhakti Bandhane. I think I'm out of time. Isn't 6:30 Kirtan? Yes? All right. I had one more verse, but another opportunity some other time maybe. But thank you. Thank you for your association. No, they're here. I see Prahlad's here, Sri Vallabha Prabhu's here. Isn't Prahlad here? I saw him come. Oh, there he is. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you everyone for the beautiful presentation and different views on these wonderful topics. Very grateful to you for that. Just a quick thing. How many of you are having a fantastic evening? Haribol! How many of you want to do vegetable cut up? Haribol! So we need about 10 volunteers to go down to the basement for vegetable cut up. It should take no more than 20 to 30 minutes right now so that we can have everything set up for the cooks tomorrow. So if we can get about 10 people to help, that would be really fantastic downstairs. Otherwise, please stay for the extended kirtan, which will go until 8 o'clock this evening. We will hear from both Prahlad as well as Sri Vallabha Prabhu. I don't know where Sri Vallabha Prabhu. Also, I've been asked by Premananda Mataji, the temple president here, to announce that next week Sunday feast at 5 o'clock will be live here in person. So it'll resume in person Sunday feast next week at 5 o'clock.
Recording stopped. Recording in progress.
Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Ram Rama Hare 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 Krishna
Could I request for everyone back to please come closer? It's like everyone's so far away.
Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Can you ask for a mic? What's the same as it should be the same scale.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama,
Rama Rama, Hare Hare,
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. One more. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Ram Ram Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Huh? Okay. Oh, one more. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Oh Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Ah, Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Doggy kicking after Dina. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. One more. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Oh, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. Jaya Srila Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Srila Prabhupada. I go to Haribo, 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 I go to Haribo. Thank you. Prabhu, you just want to use the wireless and rest it there?
Yeah, here, Prabhu, you can put this one.
You want to just use the wireless?
Oh, yeah, shift the harmonium. Yeah. I'll be right back. I gotta download.
Yeah, just use the wireless.
Hare Krishna. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Shama Sundar, Radha Shama Sundar Radhe. Jaya Radha Madhava, Radha Madhava Radhe. Jai. Haribo.
Recording stopped.
Adios.